Hey, this is Eric from Perry Hill Farms, and we're just going to do a little video on making some homemade chocolate chip cookies. I make these, and the people at my work love them. My family loves them, and there's nothing spectacular about what I do with the cookies, but everybody says they can't seem to make them the way I make them. So the only thing I know to do is make a video and then let people watch, and they can do it themselves. What we have is a basic chocolate chip cookie recipe. I like to use dark chocolate chips in my recipe. I use butter Crisco instead of butter in my recipe. And some people may not like that, but to me, it's what makes my cookies the way they turn out. So I've tried it both ways, and I like it with the butter Crisco better. So what I was going to do is just go through it and share with you how I make the cookies. So I've got a little KitchenAid mixer here, and we start with all-purpose flour, and you can use any brand you like. I traditionally use the White Lily all-purpose flour, and we start out with 2 1/4 cups, and I don't get super exact, but it's a good full cup, and I do 2 1/4 cups of that. And so there's 2, and then we're going to do 1/4. So you might hear some music in the background as the girls are working out, but don't pay that any mind. So 2 1/4 cups all-purpose flour, and then use a teaspoon of baking soda. So we've got a little teaspoon here, and get some baking soda. And on that, usually, I just put my teaspoon, use the lip on the back of that to scratch it flush, and do a teaspoon of baking soda. And then just about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, maybe a little less. I kind of do it more by eye than exact on this, but just a little salt added to that. Sprinkle it in. So do that, and I'm gonna mix that a little bit just to mix it up, and then I'll bump that back up. And the next thing I add after I do the flour and the baking soda and the salt is I use the butter Crisco at this point. And so a 1/2 cup, and I have this little metal 1/2 cup thing, and I mash, fill this up good, where it's a good solid 1/2 cup of this butter Crisco. So I'm gonna push it in there, make sure I got a good solid 1/2 cup. Some people don't like baking. I enjoy baking. I enjoy cooking. If you ask my wife, or any one of us here on Perry Hill Farms, my brother-in-law Eric likes to cook. Danette loves to cook. My wife loves to cook. We all love to bake. So I know Eric and Danette have done a few videos on certain things, and so I thought I would do one on just these cookies because people tend to like them. There's a 1/2 cup of that butter Crisco. And what I'm going to do is add that. I'm going to put my KitchenAid, just put it on stir, and I'm just going to start adding this butter Crisco, and I just add that a little spoon at a time. And I just use this little tiny spoon, jelly spoon basically, with smaller pieces, and just put it in that dry flour mixture. And I have to tap it down on there to get it to come off. I just keep adding it till it's gone, and let that be mixing in there. And then usually I'll get just a smidge more for anything that I mixed out of there. So I let that mix real good like that. And basically what this does is just, make a crumbly look to it, and I'll show it to you. So I'm gonna take this up, bump that down. So now it's got more of this crumbly look to the flour, and instead of just a fine dust. And once I'm at that point, add sugar. And so most of these chocolate chip recipes, you can look on the packages. This recipe is basically the same thing. The things that I do different, really not much, is the butter Crisco and the temperature I cook it and how long I cook it. So this calls for 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. So I just turn it on, let it stir. If you don't have a mixer, you can hand stir it, that's fine. It's just what we have. So I do 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. And you can, any kind of brown sugar, this is Dixie Crystals, light brown sugar. And 3/4 of a cup of that. I'll let that spin. We have a large sugar container with storage thing that I use. Same thing, I'll pour white sugar cane. I put 3/4 of a cup of that in there. So I got a 1/4 cup mix right here, and shake it off, and we'll put I just let that run while I'm doing this, so it just mixes real good. So there's 3 of those. At this point, I'm gonna add the eggs, and we're gonna add some vanilla. So this is the consistency of the dough at this time. Okay, cookie dough. My daughter loves to just eat that stuff raw, even though they tell you not to eat raw eggs. She loves to eat that stuff raw. So if she's at home, my Sarah will try to steal my dough. But that's the texture I want right there. That's the cookie itself. So what I'm going to do is slide my pan over here, and I'm going to show you what I do with that. So for me, I try to make them all about the same size, and I'll take a small amount of dough. I would say that's a little smaller than a golf ball. And you can make them as big as you want, but I traditionally like them about that big, and I just mash it down. Sometimes if it doesn't look big enough, I'll add a little dough to it like that, but I just mash it down kind of flat, just like this. Put it on my pan, and what I've done is I use a pan, and I put a thing of parchment paper on mine. You can do it whatever way you like to do it. This is the way I like to do it. Once I put it on there, I go ahead and grab me 3 dark chocolate chips. And I usually put mine in a bowl, and take these dark chocolate chips, and I'll put 3 per cookie. You can do as many as you want. If you want 4, 5, or 6, that's entirely up to you. Once I get these on, I'll show you what it looks like. So that gives me about, you see how big those cookies are right now. That gives me about 12 cookies. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick it in the oven, which I already have set, 325. And then I usually set my timer for 7 minutes and 30 seconds, and I just hit start. Our timer is about to be up, and we're going to grab a little hot pad. When our timer goes off, these out of. And so I'm gonna pull the camera over here so you can see. So this is, you know, what they look like when they come out. So very little brown on them at all. I like them just right before they start to brown. Okay, and then we're gonna move them over there, and then they will move to our tummies shortly. But I'm gonna set this back down and I'm gonna move these over. Seconds, and I may have enough for a little over half a batch. I have one of those plates, and I'll stop the video for a second, and then we'll come back for a taste test. So I have one of the cookies here. So as you can see, it's, you know, firm enough, but chewy. So the consistency looks more like that right there. If you can see that, that's the consistency that you want. And like I said, you can put more dark chocolate chips on there, but usually a good chewy dark chocolate chip cookie. I hope Juliana's not watching this, because she's gonna be mad at me. But these are my cookies. How I make them, everybody seems to like them. So you know how to make them now, and you can try it. The key is how long you cook them and the temperature. All right, so from Perry Hill Farms, the workout girls are gonna come eat them up. God bless. Tell us if you wanna learn any more about cooking things, just comment below something you'd like to see, and we'll do it for you. All right? See you next time. In the words of my brother-in-law, a simple life is a much more enjoyable life.